Hello and welcome. You are watching UATV News with me, Ksenia Bugay. Let's start with the latest developments. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg called the concentration of Russian troops near the border with Ukraine inexplicable and unjustified. He stated this in Riga at a meeting with President of the European Commission and Prime Minister of Latvia. He also noted that a meeting of foreign ministers of NATO member states with the foreign ministers of Ukraine and Georgia will take place in Riga this week. Jens Stoltenberg had previously warned Russia that the use of force against Ukraine would have consequences.
We call on Russia to be transparent, reduce tensions and de-escalate. NATO remains vigilant. We stand ready to defend all allies, and we will continue to provide our partner Ukraine with political and practical support.
The permanent presence of NATO ships in the Black Sea is necessary to support Ukraine. On the eve of his visit to Brussels, Prime Minister of Ukraine Diia Shmyhal said this in an interview with the Politico. According to him, the Kremlin is interested in destabilizing not only the situation in Ukraine, but also in the EU and NATO member states. In addition, Russia is constantly using other instruments of hybrid warfare against Ukraine and the West, including cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns.
The response to Russia's aggressive actions should be a joint response from Ukraine, the EU and NATO. Ensuring the continued presence of allied warships in the Black Sea would be a very strong message of support for Ukraine. Gas is already being used as a weapon not only against our state but also against the whole Europe. The situation around Nord Stream 2 as well as the reduction of the transit of blue fuel through Ukraine clearly confirms the thesis. Diia Shmyhal, Prime Minister of Ukraine, from an interview with the Politico.
Tomorrow, on November 30th in Brussels, Prime Minister of Ukraine Diia Shmyhal, together with heads of governments of Georgia and Moldova, will hold a number of meetings with the leadership of the European Union. Approval of the state budget for 2022, annual address of the President of Ukraine, and the report of the Minister of Defense on the situation at the border. The MPs of Ukraine approved a work plan for this plenary week at the Coordination Board. Approval of the main financial document is expected to become the main issue this week. Chairman of the Verkhovna Rada Ruslan Stefanchuk has already addressed the relevant parliamentary committee with a request to consider the draft budget as soon as possible. After it is approved by the government. His first deputy also stated that it is desirable not to delay the approval of the document.
We expect the draft budget for the year 2022 from the government in the near future, and we would like to have time to consider it this week because it is risky to leave such an important process for the last parliamentary week, given we have a calendar plan and it foresees no activity in the session hall in this period, but there is activity in constituencies and committees.
Heating and hot water for Ukrainians will not rise in price until the end of the heating season. This was assured by the Deputy Minister of Development of Communities and Territories of Ukraine. According to her, the state will cover all the necessary costs in problem regions. There is a subvention for the implementation of the fifth paragraph of the Memorandum for Communities where tax capacity is insufficient to cover the cost of increasing of the cost of energy. In addition, there is a subvention to repay debts on difference in tariffs. 2 to 5 people were hospitalized with burns as the result of an explosion at Burshtyn thermal power station. According to rescuers, the gas vapor mixture in the 7th power unit was released the night before. It was stopped and disabled, and a 4th power unit was launched instead. Besides, in the morning, the roof of the boiler room between the 8th and 9th power units caught fire. The fire was extinguished by the Burshtyn power station workers before rescuers arrived. There are no victims. The station operates in normal mode. The Burshtyn nuclear power station is located at the intersection of power lines that connect Ukraine with Slovakia, Hungary and Romania. New opportunities are provided by the Diia portal. From now on, one can draw up or recalculate one's pension there. The process was automated as much as possible so that everyone could do it. According to Ministry of Finance, one needs to fill out a questionnaire, download the necessary documents, and send an application. The statement is made in the form of a questionnaire where one has to answer only yes or no. The number of regions in the yellow quarantine zone in Ukraine has decreased. Starting today, the Transcarpathian region has become orange. Meanwhile, over the past day, more than 5,800 new cases of coronavirus infection have been recorded in Ukraine. The disease was found in 530 children. Almost 300 people died from complications. Most of all new infections are registered in the Dnipropetrovsk and Donetsk regions and in Kyiv city. Almost 11 million Ukrainians have already undergone a full course of vaccination against COVID-19. 13,320,000 received the first dose. This is the latest data by the Ministry of Health. In addition, Minister Viktor Lyashko said that a new strain of the Omicron coronavirus has not yet been identified in Ukraine. The emergence of new strains in the world may be due to the refusal of vaccination and the uneven distribution of vaccines, the minister said.
Поява нових небезпечних штамів
The emergence of new dangerous strains is a possible consequence of uneven distribution and doubts about vaccination throughout the globe. The bulk of new strains appear in countries with low incomes and low vaccination coverage. South Africa is the most capable of neighboring countries to sequencing. However, the new strain has developed in all its neighboring, less capable countries.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine recommends that Ukrainians refrain from traveling to Africa, in particular to the Republic of South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, Mozambique, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. At the same time, the Ukrainian embassy in South Africa has opened a round-the-clock hotline to provide consular assistance. You can now see the number on the screen. It is unjustified and even harmful. Doctors sound the alarm. Many Ukrainians demand to send them to CT scan, even having minor symptoms of a cold, and they often undergo this research in private medical centers on their own initiative, all because of the coronavirus disease complications fear. Experts say CT should be carried out only under certain indications, otherwise it will only bring harm.
Doctors say that some types of diagnostics for COVID-19 can be not only ineffective but also harmful. The most popular method people betake is computer tomography.
It is unjustified that patients run to private and government clinics and are prescribed CT scans, because at the moment a patient may be without COVID-related pneumonia. In 5 days he will have it. We do not cure according to CT. Doctors treat clinically, looking at general blood analysis and saturation.
Computed tomography is the most informative from the 6th to the 11th days of the disease. Therefore, at the onset of the disease or in order to monitor patients' conditions, specialists as a safer alternative prescribe an X-ray or ultrasound. Those two methods demonstrate high diagnostic efficiency. Moreover, they are less expensive.
If we compare CT and conventional X-ray, we must not forget about radiation exposure. One computer tomography is equal to 400 X-rays.
The examination is done quite quickly and it's easy. If there is a portable device, it can be done right at patient's bed. With no radiation load, we quickly get the result, process it, and the treatment tactics is immediately understandable.
The computed tomography procedure is indicated for patients with a severe course of the disease, as well as for patients at risk in case of overweight, diabetes, or heart diseases.
If there is a cough and it's already deep enough, there is a fever, doctor can start with an X-ray of lungs, but if he wants to know the percentage of lung damage, in such case CT method is used. It gives an opportunity to see if any complications have developed during a disease.
Experts also do not recommend to undergo CT scans often. The procedure is repeated for patients with a severe course of the disease on the 21st day and 6 months later. Reported by Nick Starkov and Yulia Bardish, UATV News.
For almost half a year, the parents of little Sophia collected money to buy robotic walkers. A device developed in Canada will help a child with severe cerebral palsy develop muscles and move. The missing amount was raised in just a few weeks, thanks to the Важлива, important social project. My colleagues will tell you more.
Every step is real grind for little Sophia. The girl has a severe form of cerebral palsy. The walk is done carefully and her mother constantly kneads the baby's muscles. Sudden movements can lead to painful cramps.
Кожен рух для того, щоб його зробити.
Every single movement is stressing the whole body, absolutely to the face even, because the brain cannot deliver the right signal to the legs.
A special device could help Sophia's work. A robotic walker was invented in 2011 by Canadian student Manmeet Magu when his nephew was diagnosed with cerebral palsy.
Бачите, як нога, вона...
You see, the foot does not stand on the sock on the heel, it twists inward. It is a state of overstrain and she cannot lower it. Those shoes, when in a relaxed state, I put them on, I take her heel out, she fixes her foot correctly, and she herself and the heel does not twist. That is for walking.
The device supports the back and neck and teaches a kid to walk upright.
10 програм, які на планшеті.
10 programs that are displayed on the tablet interact with the child. There are sensors that indicate the child's movement. When a child exerts effort, the robot shuts down for the child to complete the movement. When a child does not move or move slower than programmed step frequency, then the robot gives a push.
Such a device costs about $40,000. The family managed to collect the entire amount thanks to caring people and the Важлива social project. It has been working for 3 years already. It supports women who inspire others with their stories. They made a photo session for Victoria and her daughter and posted it on social networks.
Как мне кажется, вот ключевым таким моментом.
It seems to me that the key moment of fundraising was played by a combination of everything: awareness of the project, awareness of the heroines, plus Victoria is a very active mother. Plus, what surprised me a lot was the media and the fact that such a project arose people's trust. Victoria said that while we were doing the photo project, the donation was lightning fast.
The device has already been ordered, however it will take some time to be produced.
Кожен робот...
Each robot is made individually for each child. I made all the measurements of Sophia, the weights of the step, so that the device could take into account the characteristics of my daughter and apply them to the 10 programs that will be on the tablet.
Victoria hopes that the robotic walkers will be brought to Ukraine early next year. Then little Sophia can learn to move better. Reported by Nick Starkov and Svetlana Sich, UATV News.
That was our final story. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter pages. Stay healthy and take care of yourselves.